As we move towards the month of love, it can start to have a toll on those who are single or going through relationship problems. And here to help with some coping tools is Dr. Elizabeth Frederick. And this is great here, Doctor. You're saying it's kind of weird because literally you and I have been talking and seeing each other on Zoom.
Yes.
Which a lot of other people out there have been doing, even in people's relationships right now. They've been pretty much doing Zooming, seeing each other. So getting in person is definitely going to be kind of interesting as we move towards Valentine's Day or just in general for relationships. And before we came on, you're like, Brad, I really want to talk about people in their relationship, not about the other person, but the person themselves, because that's what you're usually dealing with. And it's always someone coming and complaining, going, oh my God, he leaves the toilet seat up, he does this, he does that, or this and that and everything. Then you kind of like go, what about you?
Yes, what's your role in that? And that's exactly right, because when we think about it from circle of control, so what we have influence over, you know, when you visualize a circle, we have influence over what's in the middle, everything on the outside we don't. And your partner's behaviors are on the outside. You don't have control over that. But what you do have control over is how you interact, how you're engaging, and your behaviors. So when you think about some red flags of your own behaviors, communication, boundary setting, even repeating relational behaviors. So repeating the same patterns over and over.
Yeah, and that's what we see usually with people who are coming out of a relationship. They're saying, I'm going to do better, but they don't look at their own red flags.
Exactly. And if they're not willing to look at, okay, what can I change? What can I do better next time? The pattern is going to repeat. So for example, communication is a big one. Passive-aggressive communication is really common, right? So you're upset and you didn't get a text back from someone, and so you're like, well, it'd be nice if you'd text me back, ha ha ha, you know, but really it's a jab.
Yeah.
Versus, hey, that hurt my feelings when I didn't get a text back from you.
Yeah.
That would be, communication would be a great place to start.
Right, and then maybe it's stepping back and looking at yourself going, why do I need that text so quickly back to me? Is it, you know, is it my validation or their validation or something going on?
Right, and when we think about that, that ties into attachment styles. So anxious attachment, avoidant attachment, and knowing what your attachment style is will help you to understand what are your patterns and behaviors and what is your patterns in relationships and how can you change them?
Yeah, why do people go back down that path? Let's just go ahead and get it out there, because I have friends, you have friends, we all have that friends that's that, I'm never going to date a person like that again. And all of a sudden, a couple months later, it's a person just like they just were with.
Yes, we call that relational programming. So the way that you interacted with your caregivers during your upbringing, the way that they engaged with you, were attentive or neglectful, that becomes your programming. That becomes what you're used to. And so our brains are designed to seek out what's familiar. So when you get into adulthood, you seek out what you know. And unfortunately, if it was unhealthy, that's what you continue to seek out. It's your programming.
So how do you break that programming?
So the first key is self-awareness. You have to know what is your attachment style. You have to know what's common for you. What are your patterns? So awareness is key. And then it's choosing to do differently. Okay, I know that I might get anxious and reactive when I don't get the text back. So how can I calm myself down? How can I really assess the situation? The 3 W's is what I suggest for my clients. What's going on? Where's it coming from? And what do I need? And so what's that healthy behavior change? Taking a deep breath, go for a quick walk, do something to calm yourself so that you aren't as reactive and you can start to change your own patterns of behavior and thus change the relationship.
Yeah, well, you know, you hear from friends and they go, well, you know, it's them, it's not you. You shouldn't apologize for them or what you did or anything like that. Is that something that needs to stop and to step back and really look at things?
Yes, I mean, a good friend is going to help you to be aware of it is not always just the other person, right? And so we have to be aware of what is our role in this? What are we doing? How are we contributing? Boundaries is another huge thing. Are we becoming too enmeshed with the other person? Are we allowing them to violate what we're comfortable with? Being aware of how you engage in that way is also, and a good friend is going to help you to realize, right?
Yeah.
Like, yo, slow your roll. Like, you don't need so many texts back.
So, and as we start to see, you know, people coming out, as we say, coming out of the pandemic, starting to date, starting to do things, or even their relationship at home has changed a lot.
Yes.
So it's usually that person changed, but the other person actually has changed, right?
Yeah, or both has changed. And especially like you're saying, usually the complaint is we don't get enough time together. And through COVID, through isolation, it's been a little bit on the flip. We get a little too much time together. And so that has brought out a whole different element of relational dysfunction with all that extra time together.
So I wish we could stay longer and talk about this. Our time's up already. Oh my goodness. Tell them how they can, of course, get a hold of your wonderful team, especially at this time, and to work people through the relationships as we get ready for Valentine's month.
Yes, sure. So our website is evolvecounselingaz.com, and I'm on Instagram at Dr. Elizabeth Fedrick.
Perfect. Yes. Doctor, thanks for coming in. It's nice to see you in person.
I know. This is so fun.
Great. Yeah. All right.